And hello good people of the internet, it is I, Tommy Kelly, and this is Adventures in Mumu. And in this episode I'm just going to talk a bit about, well, how I'm feeling I suppose. The kind of idea behind these videos was to do kind of a daily, I suppose, diary. And what they've kind of turned into very quickly is kind of a topic and stuff like that, which is fine, you know, I'm happy enough to do that kind of thing. But what I found with yesterday's video was that I started overthinking it, and I started to kind of get into the train of thought that I used to be when I was doing the, like one video a week, and I was kind of trying to work things out or whatever, rather than it being kind of off the cuff, just something easy to do, quick 5 minutes of just saying hello to the world and what the story is. So today I'm just going to say hello to the world and tell you what the story is. So here in Ireland at the minute, we're in kind of a pretty much a lockdown. Now last night, this will be a few days ago by the time you see this, but last night the UK enforced a big lockdown, a kind of more intense lockdown than we have in Ireland here. But of course, because we have the separation between Ireland and Northern Ireland being part of the UK has that greater lockdown than we do. And I think the kind of main difference between it is that it's going to be enforced by the police in the UK, whereas at the minute it's not really enforced at all. Like there's no fines for not, adhering to the rules, whatever. And over the weekend there was a kind of a mad rush to the seaside and to forests and stuff, and like the places were packed. It was a sunny day, and while there was reports of people being social distancing, I mean, I don't know how practical that actually was, because I mean, if you go to a beach, you're at some point you're always kind of being away from people or whatever, unless it's really really packed. So, but I think the spirit of social distancing is not to go to a packed beach or a packed forest or a park or something like that. Here in the town I live in, we definitely are doing the social distancing, and you can see people crossing the streets or walking out, and everyone's kind of doing the 2 meters as much as possible, and all non-essential businesses have been closed. Literally it's just supermarkets, pharmacies, petrol stations, hospitals, that kind of stuff. All like pet shops have closed down. All the closed shops. Most of the restaurants are just doing takeaway, but I think there's move before to that to be changed as well, but I don't know. But in the UK they have this thing where they've set up that you're allowed to leave the house once a day to exercise, which I thought that was wonderful. Like that's like, if they brought that in here, I'd be okay with that, because that's something I've been doing, is leaving the house once a day to get out and get some fresh air and to kind of touch in with normality. Because the thing that I find that by being enclosed, and while it's something that I do normally anyway, when it's kind of a forced enclosure, when there's this kind of background apocalypse going on, you kind of get separated from the outside world. And just even walking down and sending, like a letter, or I was sending some art the other day, and I was like, it grounds you a bit back more in reality, and kind of the panic kind of lessens, at least for me, that can only speak for myself, where you see that while everything's a bit strange, it's like a Sunday morning nearly, like, it's like this kind of, as Spud was saying on the podcast this week, he was saying that it's like the whole thing feels like a Sunday every day. And it is like that, but it's even getting out and being around like on a Sunday morning equivalent. It makes you realise that it isn't quite exactly the apocalypse. That there is there's no. If you go to a shop, there's bread. If you go to a shop, there's milk. There's people. You can still talk to people. Though I have noticed people have. In Ireland, we always say kind of hello to each other, even if they're strangers. If you pass people on the street, you just kind of say hello. More kind of rural, less so in the bigger cities. But that's kind of has stopped, and there's I suppose people have this kind of solemnness about them, where they're kind of, maybe they're afraid that the coronavirus is going to come out of people's mouths if they say hello, which okay. But I hope that goes back. I hope that when this is all over, that we go back to saying hello, because it's a thing I like about kind of Ireland, that we have this kind of friendliness towards each other, even if we don't know each other. But the kind of, I was saying, the UK, they have this, what you're allowed to go out once a day for exercise, and I think you're allowed 20 minutes. I'm not quite sure. I only kind of read it in passing. And I think that's the only real difference, other than you can be fined heavily if you're caught out playing table tennis, as they were in Italy, when you seen that video with the mayor going crazy with people. So I think that would be very important for people, because I know if you follow, like, say, people like Conor Habib on Twitter, and he's constantly going on about this, that the need for this social interaction is very important, and he would be quite opposed to the parks being closed down. And I totally see his point, but I also see the point of, like, or to see the kind of danger in allowing that sort of thing. And the government has kind of said last night anyway, that it doesn't foresee a time where they're going to close parks and beaches and stuff like that. Although all of this changes very dramatically day by day, and what was said a mere 24 hours ago, it could be a lifetime away. You know, it can seem like a lifetime away when the new developments happen. So it might be a case that you're not allowed out. And there's some very shocking stories going around on Facebook where people are getting horrified by the fact that people don't seem to be taking this as serious, you know, by going to beach, going to forests. And it kind of swinging people get it more serious. But you get things like people posting about, you know, if your child gets this, they will be kept in a room all by themselves and no one will be there to hold them. And, you know, they'll be not looked after. They'll be literally on their own because the nurses will be away, other people and the doctors will be away. When they die, you won't be able to see them. They won't even be put into a coffin. You won't be able to have a funeral. And you're just like going, oh man, like I understand that you're trying to impress on people, you know, the kind of perceived dangers or the dangers around this kind of thing. But I mean, like, there's an element of where I think you can impress seriousness without going to, you know, really panic people. And doing stuff like saying your child is going to die all alone and you're not going to be able to touch them or say goodbye or any of that, it's horrifying. And I don't think it's helpful. I think trying to find other ways to take it more seriously than to make them feel worse about themselves, worse about their lives, panic a bit more. I think we can kind of subdue the panic as much as possible, but increase the, you know, people taking it serious. And part of this kind of, while we're social distancing, is the need to stay coherent in yourself. And I think this 20 minutes a day of being allowed out for exercise, as it is, looks like going for a walk essentially, or a run, or whatever it is you do, is very important, because otherwise you're just kind of bombarding yourself with notions and things of like visions of children dying or your loved ones dying and all of this. And it's, while it's a possibility, it's not the most likely possibility. And I've just, like so many people, I've had to unfollow and just kind of make myself be aware that everyone is presenting themselves as an expert on the social medias. And there's so many people whose friends or whose mother or sister or cousins or auntie has been talking to someone high up in the government, and, you know, they have the inside scoop, and then it doesn't happen and you can get caught up in the drama. And I just kind of, enough. When you start seeing people like the conspiracy theorists talking in the same way that people on Facebook are talking about, I was talking to a guy high up in the government, as Armstrong was saying recently, and David Icke and all of these people are just kind of, it's like you're going to go, well, anyone can say that. It's like that sources close to the family that the newspaper thing can get away with. It's just like you can make up anything you want. And there's an awful lot of this kind of thing going on in Facebook and Twitter, and it's just, I understand that why people do it, that they're scared and need to try to control it or find some way that they can be ahead of the curve in some way, or that they have the real picture, they're not going to get fooled, or they're not going to get caught out, or it's not going to happen to them because I understand what's really going on. But it's adding to the it's adding to the fear. And you find an awful lot of the conspiracy people, or the people who go, oh, don't believe the media, or I know the inside scoop, or all of that kind of thought, all of that kind of process, or all that kind of speaking. You find that an awful lot of them do things like, here's a list of reasons why you should be terrified by what's going to happen. And then kind of the end of it is, but don't be scared because that's what they want you to feel, because it's a big psyop, and you know media are there to instill fear in you. But you're part of that process too. You know, you're instilling fear. It's a different fear, but it's still instilling fear. So if you're saying, don't be scared of the pandemic, don't be scared of this flu, there's nothing really to that. That's, you know, it's just blown out of proportion by the media. It's you know, it's a psyop, or it's, you know, the elites are, you know, it's all about making digital currencies, or closing the borders, or, you know, looking at your phones, or seeing your dirty knickers, or whatever it is that the conspiracy is that they're saying. Don't buy into the flu, but buy into the terrifying thing that's really happening, that I'm telling you about. But don't, you know, and then finishing up, but don't be scared of anything at all, because that's how to get you. And it's like, both sides are adding to the fear at this point, where you have the mainstream media adding to the fear, people on Facebook you know, like trying their best, I assume, and they're panicking and all that, adding to the fear. And then the people saying that it's all rubbish, that it's not, you know, don't be scared or whatever, are also adding to the fear by putting in what's really happening. So you're surrounding yourselves by fear. And unless we get out for these 20 minutes a day of exercise, or in some way have this social interaction while social distancing and taking all the rules, I think long term we're all going to go a little crazy. And I don't know how that works, because I assume that if the things get worse, if the, you know, more cases come up in Ireland, more deaths and all that, it will get even more stringent, and it'll be that you won't even be allowed out for 20 minutes a day or whatever it is. I know that's the UK, but it's kind of, I assume it will follow suit fairly quick. So for the minute, I'm actually okay. For the most part, I'm not panicking, and I'm very hopeful. And I have, like, the reading I did where it's in of the 4 sermons, where it's saying about the seer, and it's, you know, keeping your own kind of feelings about what it is. And my gut feeling is a good feeling. It's I don't have a bad sense or a sense of dread about the future. I have a positive, very, more than just, you know, cultivating that. I do have, when I look in, when I have a search inside, what is the feeling? What's my gut saying about this? I'm very positive about it. It feels okay. Not okay in that absolutely nothing bad is going to happen, but okay in a kind of grander sense of all things. So I feel a kind of an all rightness about it. So I am positive about the future. Just if you're like me, and if you're in a situation where you are allowed in your country to have a walk a day, I think it's important that you do that and not bottle yourself up or lock yourself up. If you're in a country or in a situation where that's not allowed, like Italy, where you're just not allowed out, or your local, don't do that. But try to do something equivalent, like go out into your back garden, if that's allowed, or get some air, or do something that in some way reconnects you with the land, with people, with society, with the greater thing that isn't social media. Something that's real, something that's tangible, something that's actual, something that is not virtual. As much as that's important too in different ways and all that. But also, don't go to the fucking beaches, thousands of years, and don't go to the forests. You know, don't do this, because that, if so many people are, then they're going to take that away. And, you know, not just take away beaches and forests, but take away, you know, any kind of moving out. So as much, stay at home, get your exercise, touch, reconnect with the land. Don't give in to the fear. And, you know, literally, if I got into a bath and had a harp playing in the background, just like Madonna, you know, we're all equal in this. You know, everyone's going through it. No one knows what's going on. So don't let other people tell you your truth within all this. You know, have your own cohesion. You know, stay true to yourself and be well and look after yourself. And, you know, let's hope that going into the future that we remember the lessons of this time, because I think it could be wonderful. It could be a wonderful world we head back into. So, good people of the internet, until tomorrow, be well.